I've been putting bad guys away for 44 years. I've been part of investigating over 1,000 deaths. I've been a part of putting more than 400 murders in prison, and I'm still at it. I'm Tim Corbett. These are my cases. This isn't your typical criminal profile podcast. This is Killer Catchers. Hi, back again for Killer Catchers. Tim Corbett here. We're going to be telling you a story tonight about a father killing his own kid. It's you've heard everything so far that you probably never thought would happen. You've heard us tell stories about somebody killing a baby, shooting somebody over drug. You've heard it all. Tonight, this one's probably really going to blow your hair back. So with me tonight, to my left is Tim Wiley. Tim was one of the investigators. He's with the South Bend, Indiana Police Department. Next to him is Kyle Slater. Kyle Slater was a technician on this particular case. He's with St. Joseph County, Indiana. One of the technicians, and these two guys are still at homicide. This incident happened on November 17th of 2016. Our victim's name is Charlin, Charlin Fulce. He was 19 years old when his father killed him. I'm going to kind of start it off. We're all parents, or most of us, I would think, are parents. And we all know we have to correct our kids sometimes. Look, you take their phones away, you put them in a corner, you spank them, you sit them down, you put them in a room, whatever form of punishment you think is necessary. But shoot your kid in the head, just my interpretation of that, that's probably just a little bit left of center as far as I'm concerned. You'll hear a detailed story about what happened and what started this whole thing off, which, as usual, was stupid. Killing your son is stupid. And, the lies that were told to help cover it up. But in the end, even though he committed a stupid act, the father did the right thing, at least in the courtroom, and pled guilty. And we'll get to that a little bit farther down the road. Just so you know, towards the end of this, I'm going to bring in Clifton French, the guy that I talked to you about several times for Real News Michiana. I want you to be able to attach a face and a name to the particular person, and how much justice, how much truth Clifton is bringing to this particular area of the state. So, Tim, why don't you kind of start us off as you have with the last 2 or 3 weeks? You're kind of like, I don't know, I guess I'm making you a star. I don't know why, but go ahead.
I don't know if I'd call myself a star or not, just hanging out with you.
Yeah, star ain't the word we use.
Back on November 17th of 16, we were alerted to, when I say we, the Metro Homicide Unit, to an incident out in the county where the son was shot by the father. The son was still alive, actually, because turned out the weapon that was used was a small .22 caliber bullet. So it went into his head and bounced around and turned basically his brain into Swiss cheese. But he was still alive technically, and he was already at the hospital. But all the people that were at the house, the entire family that was there, was transported individually from the house to the Metro Homicide Unit so we could have interviews and conversations with the people that were there. So just to kind of move forward a little bit, the victim did succumb to his getting shot in the back of the head, so he did die from that. But we sat down with each of the people that were in the house, all the family members, and we got the story about what happened. Talked with Junior. Junior says that they're in the house. He and his brother had just gone to the pizzeria to pick up pizza, come back with it. They're all going to sit down and have family dinner. That's what it was. That's really what it was all for. It was all just a family dinner, them all hanging out together and being a family. Charlin was there as well, and he and Senior, Christopher Fulce Senior, got into a bit of a yelling match at each other because Senior wanted to adopt his daughter's child because the daughter wasn't really able to take care of the child, and Senior thought that he could do a better job at it, and he probably could have, but he wanted to adopt him. Charlin didn't think that Senior should do this without the permission of the actual biological father.
It's fair.
Fair enough. So, but Charlin had taken it a step further, and he'd actually reached out to who he thought was going to be the biological father, because the daughter would never say. The daughter, who actually was the mother of the child, would never say who the real father was.
Did she know?
Apparently, yes, she did know. But she, even to this day, I don't think, I've talked to her a couple different times, and she's never told me who it really was, the dad. But she wouldn't tell anybody. She wouldn't tell anybody in the family what was going down. But Charlin thought he knew, because he thought it was a guy that had just gotten out of prison. So he was trying to track him down and show him pictures of the child, trying to spark his interest in being a dad. Senior did not like this at all. He did not like this. He wanted to adopt the child himself, raise the child, and cut out the real biological father entirely.
He actually wanted to change the name to Fulce as well, I believe. If
Yeah.
that's not.
Yeah. So change the name of the child to Fulce, and Senior would become dad to his grandchild, essentially. Again, fight continues, argument continues, and then it becomes a physical fight where they're throwing things at each other. Charlin actually takes the pizza that they were going to have for dinner, throws it on the floor, throws it up. Everybody like splashes and gets everybody all covered in pizza sauce. And from that point on, it becomes an actual physical fight between Senior and Charlin, where they actually lock horns together in this stand-up wrestling match in the middle of the living room. And they fall to the floor at one time, so they're still in this wrestling match on the floor in the house, and everybody's trying to separate them, do whatever, and just to get everybody apart. Eventually, Junior and some of the other kids in the house were able to separate Senior and Charlin from each other, and then Charlin goes outside. While that's going on, Senior is going through the house, and he actually goes past one of the other people that's in the house, and this other person in the house actually heard him say, "The day you hit me is the day you die." So that's what Senior's muttering to himself as he's going from the living room upstairs to his bedroom where the gun is, comes back downstairs, and this witness is saying, yeah, he's muttering this the whole time he goes up, the whole time he comes down, "The day you hit me is the day you die." So that's when Senior goes outside and confronts Charlin, who's in his car by this point.
So he's no longer a threat. He's trying to leave the scene.
He's trying to leave the scene, and we know from a little bit of construction of how, because Charlin tried to leave and he accidentally hit the side of the house, and he backed up and hit something else and all this other stuff. So we kind of know where he was and how he was positioned with his car, and he would not have been a threat to Senior, who was back and to the left of where Charlin was. So there's no way he could even say, "Oh, he tried to back into me and hit me with his car." We know that's not the case. We know that Charlin is trying to leave, and he's actually Senior, and I don't want to get far too into the shooting reconstruction, but can you tell us about how the bullets went to the car?
Well, before you start on that, what's important about the part that he just said, Senior, first off, okay, you throw the pizza on the floor. Yeah, you're going to be pissed off about that. You've had time to separate. You've had time to cool down. You're both going in opposite directions. And with what he's muttering, he had time to form a clear thought. I'm going to kill you. He had time to walk up the steps, clear thought. He had time to go find the gun, clear thought. He had time to come down with the gun, and still had plenty of time to make the decision to shoot or not shoot. He chose to kill his own son because his son beat up the pizza, and they're rolling around on the floor. Disown him, take him out of your will, do something. But he received the death penalty, I'm sure because of machismo. Absolutely. The old man's feelings were hurt that his kid put his hands on him. I get it. But to kill him and then live with that for the rest of your life, these are the things that we hear and see all the time. And, again, we hear about, we need to have stronger gun laws, and we need to take the guns off the street. What you need to do is take the idiots off the street that are firing the guns at people and killing them. I can take my gun out right now, set it on the table, leave it there. It's not going to go off. It's not going to shoot somebody. The person behind it that addresses the trigger, that is the weapons delivery system to that person, makes that decision. So this is probably not the time to talk about it, but I am going to throw it out there. Don't be swayed into thinking stronger gun laws are going to make a difference. Taking people off the street that are prolific shooters, putting them in jail where they can't shoot, where they can't intimidate, where they can't perpetrate crime is what's going to make a difference. Not more gun laws that the feds probably aren't going to enforce anyway because prisons are overcrowded. Blah, blah, blah. Same old dull BS. Over the past weekend, we had a mass shooting in South Bend, Indiana. 1 dead, 5 wounded. Look it up on a computer, look it up wherever you want. You'll see that stronger gun laws isn't going to make a difference, but enforcing the law, taking people off the streets, does. Common sense, not that hard. Go ahead. What the hell was the question?
The shooting reconstruction of the
So, as far as the shooting reconstruction goes with the car and everything that Tim was saying, as far as the storyline goes, matched up completely with the evidence. So my main job as an evidence technician is evidence, and to take that evidence and see if it lines up with the storyline that the investigators get from that. And the one thing you can tell you is that evidence never lies, but people do. So, the story that he told you completely matched up with everything that I found and with the evidence. As far as the shooting reconstruction goes, the vehicle, I noticed 7 defects in the back of the vehicle. One of them I determined not to be an actual gunshot from the type of weapon that was used. It's more or less like a BB gun that was old damage. But there were 6 shots that entered the back of that vehicle, and our victim was shot twice, once in the back of the head and then once in the back. The shot that actually took his life went through the back window, through the headrest, and then when I was able to do a shooting reconstruction by placing a flight path rod through these defects and seeing where this is going, once it went through the actual headrest, there was no corresponding defect in the car, in the dash of the car, in the steering column in that area, which leads me to believe that that is the shot that hit Charlin in the head. So,
Was that recovered
yeah.
from an autopsy? Did it
Yes,
match up
but
with the gun?
because of the type of weapon used, it was a 22, and they were not actually able to match it just because these little lead bullets just mangle every time. So,
Okay.
But it's fair to say the only person out there shooting that direction with that kind of gun was the dad. So I mean,
Well, and here we go right back to six different shots at least, correct?
at least 6 shots.
Okay, so 6 conscious manipulations of the trigger, and each one required a thought. And that thought could have been, maybe this is stupid, I shouldn't kill my kid over beating up a pizza, or, the hell with it, I'm going to go ahead and kill him. So he had time to disassociate himself from the scene by going upstairs, getting the gun, coming back down, making those 6 shots. How far away did you estimate that he was from his son when he killed him?
To say exact, because the vehicle had been moved, an ongoing several shots, it could probably range anywhere from, I would have to guess, and
Sure,
I don't
yes.
want to guess, but it's 25 to 75 feet, somewhere in there, and,
So not a long
and
distance.
maybe all the above. So
The shots, could you tell how close of a pattern they were? Were they spread out? How was it?
they were pretty well spread out in the back of the car. There was not a real good grouping.
What did that tell you?
Probably some distance in it.
Could be a couple of things. Maybe going away, the different angles he's still
Moving vehicle.
Yep.
Yeah.
maybe trying to move shots around for a better chance of hitting your target, because when we trained with SWAT techniques, it's nice to have a great pattern, but what you're doing is if you're involved in a situation like, I won't even get into that because that talking about police shootings, and I don't really want to talk about that, but so put it all together, how long were you guys out there processing the scene?
So this happened in, I think, the early afternoon. I believe 2-something in the afternoon. I know when we got the initial call, I consulted with my partner, who was Jim Andrews, now retired, former South Bend police officer. we agreed, he initially went out to the scene for scene security to make sure that everything is situated there and nobody's doing anything. And then my task was to do the search warrants. So I completed several search warrants for vehicles, the house, and anything that we needed to get into at that crime scene, which was everything. So after I completed those search warrants, it was already getting dark at that time. This is November. So I got out there. I mean, that scene was probably at least 12, 13 hours, from the time we were notified, I think, at that time. And then we returned the next day as well to do some more stuff. And then I had to do the shooting reconstruction and process the vehicle. So throughout the whole week really is just kind of putting everything together, from the initial crime scene, which took a couple days, to the vehicle, getting together ballistic evidence to be analyzed by the South Bend Police Ballistic Lab, and any other evidence that we can find and process. So we worked through the night, and like I said, Wiley's storyline was spot on. I mean, everything that he learned through witnesses was very accurate for the crime scene itself.
Which is important, because now we're passing information back and forth. We're sharing stuff. You're picking up stuff, the evidence, at the scene, going, that evidence does or does not match what that person in the interview room is saying. So now you have some validity to what they're saying, or you can dismiss what they're saying and confront them with it. So it's very important to have that. Now, while they're out processing, what were you guys doing? How many people did you have down at the office?
Well, we had about 5 people down there, 4 or 5, including Dad. So we talked to everybody except for Dad, get all their stories, get all that information, finally sit down with Senior and have a conversation with him, interview with him about what happened.
He's Mirandized.
Yep, obviously. Sometimes I gloss over that in these things, but yeah, every time we're going to talk to a suspect, I'm going to read Miranda. But also, so during his statement, he agrees with everything. He does not agree with saying the day you hit me is the day you die. He doesn't remember doing that. At least that's what he claimed. He says, I don't remember saying anything like that. But I do remember going up, getting into the fight, going upstairs, getting the gun, coming back downstairs, shooting some warning shots at the ground. That's what he says he does. Shoots at the ground first, and the car keeps going. And he says he was shooting at the car, not specifically at his son. So he admits to shooting the gun into the car, but he says, I was shooting at the car. I was not shooting at my son, even though out of the 6 shots, 2 of them found their mark. One in the back and then one right in the back of his head.
The rounds that impacted the car, were they all in the rear windshield?
They were all in the back of the car. Not all of them went through the rear windshield.
Okay, were any of them down by the lower bumper? Were any tires shot out?
There was a couple that were on the rear driver's side fender, the rear fender, and then anything else that went in, I think it was either through the back window or very close to the back window.
Okay, so consistently, it's higher up where the upper torso at least would be, correct?
Mm-hmm.
If you're shooting a bumper, if you're, like what he's saying, a warning shot or scaring you off or whatever, and you shoot the tires or shoot the lower, how about don't shoot at all first. You shoot the bumper if you're trying to scare him. You sure as hell don't shoot towards the head area, upper torso area, in anticipation of just scaring them. Those are kill shots.
So
common sense.
Shooting at him some more, and that's when Charlin actually takes out his small little 25 caliber gun after Dad is shooting at him. So up to this point, Charlin has never shown a gun, never displayed anything like that. And Dad even said, I didn't know he had a gun. But Charlin reaches out through the window and wildly shoots some rounds back, probably to try and defend himself from Dad shooting at him. Rounds coming back, and that's when I think Dad just, bang, lines it right up and does the deed.
Well, we just got done with Father's Day, a couple days ago. Isn't that what everybody does? We're going to get together for a family event, eat some pizza, and then we're going to get in a fight, and then we're going to, Dad and son here after a while, they're going to try and kill each other. In fact, one is successful. I'm going to shoot at Dad. Doesn't everybody do that? That's a good time. Stupid.
So Senior admits that he didn't know that Charlin had a gun at all, so that's kind of out the window for self-defense on his part. But Charlin does get tagged, gets hit, and crashes the car in between a couple of trees in the driveway. The other family members try to come out and help him, but he's obviously in a bad way and he's not responding to them at all. 911 gets called. Cops, ambulances, everybody shows up and is there at the scene.
Did the dad try and help?
He actually, after he did the shooting, rather than going down to the car, he goes back inside of the house, gets his spare ammunition, and starts to reload the rifle. He doesn't go back out with it, doesn't confront the cops with it or anything like that, but he reloads the rifle and he sits down in a chair and he waits. He waits for whoever's going to come to deal with that situation.
From an evidence side on that, there's evidence of that inside the home where there was some open boxes of ammunition and some loose rounds on an end table and then on the floor around that open box of ammunition. So very consistent.
So he's trying to load and he's dropping rounds. So instead of picking it up, he just grabs another one and starts reloading.
Consistent with what you found.
Yeah. So we originally charged him with attempted murder because Charlin was obviously still alive and he lived for a couple of days in the hospital. So we charged him with attempted murder as opposed to murder.
Because he wasn't dead yet.
He wasn't dead yet. But after those few days elapsed and Charlin did finally succumb and pass away, we changed the charges from attempted murder to murder.
Okay, now when he was in the hospital, was he on life support, obviously?
Mm-hmm.
Was life support taken or did he just die on his own?
I think he died on his own.
Okay. And that was the wound to the back of the head, probably brain swelling and everything else, started shutting down the organs, respiratory, blood, everything else.
Right, when that little 22 went into his head, rather than staying as one projectile, it actually shattered into multiple pieces within his brain and shut everything down probably almost instantaneously.
Okay, so the people that were in the house, how did they do on their statements?
They were willing to talk with us. Obviously, it's a very rough and very tough situation for all of them. They just witnessed their father kill one of the other people, that's one of their other relatives right there in front of them. They're all crying and upset. Obviously, they would have been. I would have been too. But they were still stoic and strong enough to give us the story, tell us the truth about what really happened, and not try and make us guess or trying to do all this other stuff. The family was pretty straightforward about this is what happened, this is what happened, this is what happened. Even Senior's pretty straightforward with, yeah, this happened, this happened, this happened. The only thing he's a little leery about is where he's shooting and that thing that he kept muttering, the day you hit me is the day you die. Other than that, he was pretty straightforward with his entire statement.
Okay, now evidence is set off. Ray Wolfenbarger, South Bend Police Department, the ballistics guru, took a look at the rounds, and like you said, there was so much distortion in rounds, he couldn't actually make those rounds being fired from that gun, correct?
Correct.
But Senior said, I used this gun to shoot. So we've got the connection there. We have other witnesses that say that they seen him shooting that gun, and that's the gun. Mm-hmm. So we have witnesses confirming what Senior said to that gun. It's the same caliber, although we can't make the bullets with that because of the distortion. Right?
Yes.
But we also located 6 casings in the middle of the driveway. So
okay, were those casings with any marks on? Was Ray able to make that with that gun?
I believe he did, yes.
Okay. And the ammunition that was found in that house, was that consistent with the type of ammunition laying in the driveway?
Yes.
Okay, so we've got the pieces are all coming together. Now, he's charged with attempted murder. He sits in the St. Joseph County Jail. We're starting to advance. We're getting closer to time of trial. About how long was it from the time the arrest was made till the time of trial?
It would have been in August of 2017. So like I said, November 16 is when this happened. We go to August the 17th.
It's actually pretty quick for around here.
Less than a year, which for a murder trial is very fast.
Yeah. Okay, so who was witness in chief?
I was.
And I know you have a little story to tell about what went on in court, so lay that out for him.
So day one of our trials is to select a jury. So we selected the jury. After the jury is out of the room, Senior actually tells his lawyer, and I can overhear because we're literally sitting right next to each other. And it wasn't like it was a secret. Senior said, telling his lawyer, I want to plead guilty. I don't want to go through trial. I want to plead guilty. The lawyer's like, no. We're going to try this. I'm going to do the best I can for you. We're going to have a trial. So day 2 comes up. Again, Senior, before the jury comes out. So he never says this in front of the jury because, you just don't do that. Says, I want to plead guilty. The lawyer's like, no, I'm going to try to do my best for you. We're going to do this. End of that day, same thing. Third day, we get into the end of that day. He says, I want to plead guilty. His lawyer's like, no. We get to the fourth, on the end of the third day, the case in chief was done. All of our witnesses, all of the statements, all the evidence that we were going to present for trial from the state was put in. So it's all there. So we rest and we turn it over to the defense. Defense puts up a couple of character witnesses, but nothing, no evidence questions, no witness questions, nothing like that, just character witnesses. How good is the guy is Senior? I have no doubt he's a great guy, but he had a very bad day that day. So we get to the end, or we get to the beginning of day 4, and finally Senior, almost as an outburst to the judge, says, I want to plead guilty. I don't want to do this anymore. So the whole trial stops. The lawyers have their conversations up at the bench, and they come back and tell Senior, do you really want to plead guilty? Yes, I want to do this. And they do an allocution outside the presence of the jury to tell what happened. And Senior admits, yeah, I did this. Never really gets into the mindset of why he did it. He's just explaining, yes, this happened.
Yeah, he doesn't really have to tell about the mindset. He just has to get the elements of the crime. So for 4 days, he's wanting to plead, and finally a light bulb goes off that, okay, I guess you do want to plead guilty.
Well, it was explained to me, and this is lawyer talk, so I may mispronounce or may not know the nuances of everything with that, but it was the defense was actually trying to save the record on what happened, how it happened, and try to keep it away from being an appealable issue. So the defense was actually doing us not a favor, but doing the due diligence of his client and doing the due diligence of the court to make set a correct record on what his client wanted to do. So that's what took so long.
Well, I guess my question is, if you wanted to plead guilty on day 1, why didn't you make that record on day 1? You had an opportunity. I'm the client. I get to choose. Do I want a jury trial? Do I want a judge? I want to plead guilty. I don't get. So we've drug jurors down there. We tied up the court. We did everything for 4 days that didn't need to be done because the guy wanted to accept his penalty, his remorse, whatever reason he was going to do it. He wanted to do it. That's I don't get it.
It is what it is. But he was allowed to plead guilty to voluntary manslaughter, which in the state of Indiana is a level 2 felony that runs 10 to 30 years. But through the fact that he's taking it off the table, not putting it in the hands of a jury and kind of alleviating that, he was allowed to have a cap of 17 years.
Okay. Well, how long were you on the stand? And by the way, Kyle's dressed like this because he has a softball game tonight. He didn't roll a.
What am I dressed like?
I'm sorry?
You said dressed like this. What am I dressed like?
Well, first off, I'd have told you to wear a Boston Red Sox hat, but anyway.
Oh, here we go. So, yeah, I don't recall exactly how long I was on the stand. Typically, I'm on the stand for about an hour and a half, but I don't really keep track. I think that's kind of average. So,
when you were up there, what kind of games do they try and play with you? Or did they stop doing that once they found out you can really testify?
Well, so when I'm up there, the prosecutor goes first, and he kind of just lays out everything. I have to introduce all the evidence into it. I have to lay out the scene. I have to describe the scene in detail. I have to enter all the pictures that they use in court, that they use for other witnesses and everything to, go through. So it's generally a very long, probably one of the longest testimonies probably of anybody that's in there, I would say most of the time, not every time, but most of the time, because, we're laying out all the evidence. We're going through every picture, and, sometimes you go through 200 pictures and it might start getting a little boring by that point in time, but I mean, it is what it is, and you gotta keep going with it. I tend to like to try and watch the jurors a little bit while I'm there, just to kind of see what their reactions are and stuff. And
well, many times with pictures, the most gruesome ones are taken out. They pretty much have a set list of what they're going to use for photographs. One of the big things is with defense attorneys, they want to make police officers, everybody else, believe that they didn't hear what they heard, seen what they seen, did what they did, tasted what they tasted, did anything that they're testifying to. It's always, well, isn't it true that, watch the shiny thing up here in the air, jurors don't pay attention to the truth down here. If we're all there to try and get the truth and the transparency and all the other cool stuff that's being said now, then let's do that. But when you're trying to what if, and you're creating situations that you have to know your client wasn't on Mars when this happened, because we have him on video. So don't try and blow sunshine up the jurors' pant leg here and do that. And I realize everybody gets a defense. I get it. It's the American way. I understand it. I agree with it. But I don't understand, or I don't agree with, is trying to, I guess it's lying, because it's not the truth. So there's really not a real fair playing field. And sometimes, you're there at the end and you listen to the closing arguments and you think, was this attorney even in the same courtroom? I mean, this stuff ought to start off with once upon a time. It's such BS. But for the most part, jurors are smart enough to see through it. They bring in their own everyday experiences, their own life's experience, and they can see, this doesn't.
I think you're right. I think they like the twist stuff. And what I've learned over the years is that know what you did, know your report, know everything that you did, down packed to everything. And if there's anything specific in evidence, like the type of gun used, know information about that gun, know how it operates, stuff like that. So when they try and get up there and ask you a question about this gun, like, where's the safety at on this gun? What type of safeties are in it, or something? To that extent, they're going to try and make you look like you don't know anything, is what they're going to say. And
the good thing about that, I'm a policeman. I'm an evidence gatherer. I am not a ballistics expert. I am not a gunsmith. Hand me the gun and I will show you where the safety is. So you have to kind of jam them. When they open the door, get ready to jam them. That's, I remember one, 100 years ago where an defense attorney went through a police locker room and made a comment. He noted that there were locks on all the lockers, right? So come time for court, isn't it true, Officer Smith, that there's locks on all the lockers in the police gym? Yes. Well, if policemen are so honest, why are there locks on the lockers? And this cop knocked it out of the park and he said, because sometimes defense attorneys go through the locker room. You just got kicked right dead in your ass. You should have grabbed that policeman, went right down to the hospital, got his boot dug out of your posterior because you got it handed to you. He thought he was going to be smart. He thought he was going to, make this cop look like crap. And it didn't work. You got stuffed. And guess what? His client got found guilty. So good. So everything's taken care of. He ends up getting 17 years. He's gone. How was the family afterwards towards the homicide unit?
Still not. Pretty stoic. Nobody's happy about this situation. I mean, their loved one is gone from their own actions, but still, it's not like we're going to hang out and sing Kumbaya together. But still understanding of what we all had to go through and what we all had to do.
So they weren't mad at the police.
No.
I mean, look, sometimes you get a lousy situation, and bad for them, bad for everybody. But again, we don't get to pick our victims. We don't get to pick our suspects. We show up and we sweep up the mess. And in the end, as long as we do it right and honest and fair and truthful, you're not going to make everybody happy. That's just the way it is, and that's how you have to live with it. On our best day, we're going to make 50% of the people happy, and 50% we're going to piss off because we're going to put you in jail. You're going to be pissed. The people that are complaining about you are going to be happy with us. So if you're a policeman, trust me, after 45 years, if you need another friend, get a dog. That's the way it is. Kyle's got to go play softball, so he's going to be out of here. Is there anything you want to add, Kyle, before you go?
Yeah, I would just say this was, almost every case with our unit is, spot on. I mean, we work well together. Tim and Brian Cook was his partner in this. They did a great job getting the storyline and finding everything they could. And then me and Jimmy, just, putting it together at the crime scene, reconstructing it and putting it together. And then everything meshed very well. I don't know if we explained really the crime scene too much in this case. I mean, to put it in a little perspective, it was a very wooded area, long driveway. It wasn't like a small neighborhood house. It was out in the country, and this was really serious. I mean, when this happened, and this car literally, after he was shot, veered off the driveway, which went down a really steep embankment and crashed up against a tree. So and then everything inside the house that corroborated what Tim said. We located adoption paperwork. Sorry, I had a brain freeze there or something. Adoption paperwork for the child. There was pizza in the house. There was disarray with toys everywhere. There was the ammunition that was scattered in open box. So everything went together very well. So I think we did a great job as a team. So
Okay. Dismissed if you want to go play softball.
thanks, guys.
With your fancy pants.
How about you? Final words of wisdom?
Just that horrible situation, all that stuff going down with the family and all that. But just teamwork on our side, not only with the Metro Homicide, but also with the street uniform guys, keeping the place on lockdown, keeping the witnesses separated. It's not just the Metro Homicide show. It's all of us in law enforcement working together for the common goal of trying to figure out what happened, who did this, how it happened, and holding the proper person accountable.
Satisfying?
Yes.
Satisfying that you have an answer and an ending, but there's never closure. And I've said that 1,000 times. There is no closure. There's an ending and an answer. And that's injustice. So those are the things we strive for. Before I say the final words, this is Clifton French. Clifton is the guy that I've been telling you about with Real News Michiana. Clifton was a vet, seen a lot of stuff. That's not for me to tell that story, but he wasn't a guy, an Uber driver driving a general around and marching around saying, "Yeah, I was a warrior," but he never did want to be the transportation secretary. So Clifton's a guy that's been there and done it. He's been a reporter for a lot of years, and he's the guy that is pumping out these stories on Real News Michiana. That's the truth. I know, it's rare. It's the news, but it's the truth. He backs it up with facts. He backs it up with statements. He backs it up with paperwork. He backs it up with everything, confirmation, not just the Ouija board. I'm going to tell you what I think you ought to hear. He's going to tell you what is the truth. I support him 100%. I'd go to war with him anytime. He's got your back. He's an honest guy. Please, please, please go to Real News Michiana and sign up. $9 a month, big deal. Mm-hmm. And you're going to get the information. But I'll let him tell you about that. But I can tell you, if it means anything, I put my stamp of approval on him. And I will say one more thing. Many of you know that my name was brought up in the tape situation, the tape scandal in South Bend, Indiana with the South Bend Police Department. But what you haven't heard on 16/22/57, South Bend Tribune, and many others who demonized me for 10 plus years, is that the person that claimed all this stuff went up on the stand about 6 weeks ago and made a statement that Tim Corbett and Steve Richmond are not even on the tapes. So for 10 years, I've been every kind of village burning SOB in the entire world, and I'm not even on the tapes. But these news media's first, fast, and accurate, how about second, slow, and I doubt it, didn't do their job, because now they don't have me to vilify. But this guy had the guts to go check it out. So just so everybody knows that watches this, and spread it around, tell everybody you know, Tim Corbett and Steve Richmond are not on the tapes. So find some other BS to come up with. But if you think I'm going to forget you, ain't happening. So go ahead, Clifton.
Well, Tim, let's just talk about the tapes for a minute. Is that okay? And talk, like, not necessarily tapes, but talk about the story surrounding that, right?
Fine with me.
So you had by the way, so I was a journalist for many, many, many years. I've won many, many awards as a journalist. I have worked in some of the top markets in the country. I've done work for Network. And, I used to cover the FBI, ATF, Department of Homeland Security, SOCOM, CENTCOM. When there's a lead of the story, that's in your headline, and you mention it, right? You had been vilified. The story was Tim Corbett and the tapes, Tim Corbett and the tapes, Tim Corbett and the tapes. It comes out that you're not a part of the tapes, and that is not mentioned in a single story in any single news outlet in the area. And that has been the number one story that they have been hitting on for the past decade. That is the whole reason behind that is political activism. It's not meeting the narrative. It is not trying to look bad to everybody else, right? They're not trying to look bad because this is what they have put out there. This is what they've done. So some of them were creative and said, oh, well, the case was dropped because they didn't have standing because some people weren't on the tapes. Your name was never mentioned. That is the headline of that story, and everybody buried it, or they didn't just bury it, they just didn't mention it. So that's why I'm here. I'm here to tell you actual news. I'm here to tell you what the liberal media is not going to tell you, and I am here to tell you and show you exactly what's happening. Now, you may not like the way that the sausage is made, and you would stop eating sausage. That's the whole problem. Stop watching the legacy media. Stop reading the South Bend Tribune, because the way the sausage is made is pretty freaking gross. And I'm going to show all of that to you. There is an agenda with every single thing that they do. And all I'm doing is trying to expose the truth and expose the falsehoods of the legacy media within this area.
Well, here's the thing. This isn't a commercial. Well, I guess it is kind of for Clifton, but what it's a commercial for is getting the truth out, because what he's going to do is dig into the facts. There was 133 shootings last year. Clifton's he's going to dig into how many of them were charged. Why weren't they charged? How come? All those kinds of things. I still get calls from people that I helped over the course of my career. Black people, black women that sleep in bathtubs with their kids because they're afraid of bullets coming through their house. The people that are being abused, that are being shot and killed every day, is not the average everyday white person. It's people in neighborhoods where this is happening, and it's predominantly black on black. And somebody's going to go, oh my God, there he goes again with it. It's the truth. You're not going to stop this until you pull the Band-Aid off and expose what's there. These people, when I say these people, I'm a person, these are people. I'm talking about in general terms, need to be protected. And when you lie and you cover up and it's not happening because people are afraid to come forward and say, I saw Bill shoot Joan. I saw this, I saw that, for fear of retaliation. Excuse me, because things aren't being enforced. They're not being enforced because defund the police. Get rid of the police. We don't want the police. Hell, if I'm a thug, I don't want police. If I'm a gangbanger, I don't want police. And then, of course, we get some of these, everybody gets a seat at the table. Yeah, that's just what I want, a gangbanger advising me on how to police people. Well, it's like putting a piece of cake in front of a fat kid and saying, don't eat. What do you think's going to happen? It's stupid. People are being abused. Let the cops go out and do what the cops do. You can't be a prolific shooter if you're sitting in the St. Joseph County Jail. You can't be a prolific rapist or child molester if you're sitting in the St. Joseph County Jail. That St. Joe County Police Department has hundreds, thousands of warrants. Go out and serve them. Go out and pick people up. Go out and snag these people. We know who the shooters are. I can make 3 phone calls. If I could block out the voice, I could call somebody right now and let you listen to the phone call. And they're going to say every night how they go to bed scared that they're going to be killed because bullets are coming through their doors, through their windows, through their walls. Told you about the shooting up, a mass shooting in South Bend, Indiana. 1 dead, 5 killed. About 100, 200 yards scene. A party that starts at 10 at night and goes to 3 in the morning. Geez, who couldn't have seen that coming? Who would have ever thought that this group of individuals, drinking all day, smoking dope, taking X pills, that show up, and I'm sure these murders or this murder and the other shootings was all over. Your stock portfolio is better than mine. Oh no, you got the higher SAT score. You beat me. You're going to take that job application? No, I want it. No, it's going to be over. Your pant leg is up. Mine was down.
Hey,
you're having sex with the same girl I'm having sex with.
Hey, Tim, you're on the right track.
Oh, yeah.
So
I don't like the way you're looking. So how do I show it? I start indiscriminately firing. I'm not going to tell you how many guns were out there because I don't really know. But it wasn't just one. When you have, near 100 or more casings, and that doesn't count the revolvers that don't leave casings. So when these things are happening, people go, oh my God, I can't believe this happened. How could you not believe it happened? That when you have a makeup like that, that's like walking through a lion's cage with pork chop underwear on and you wonder why your ass got bit. It's going to happen. Stop BSing yourselves. Stop BSing other people. I'm not saying take the gloves off the cops, let us be abusive or let them be abusive. That's not what's going to happen. Those bad cops, get rid of them. We all agree with it. That's not even an argument. But let the cops do what they need to do. Go out and enforce the laws. The only way that it's going to get better is if the laws are enforced. That's the only way. We're going to hear a speech here probably tomorrow about gun laws. We need stronger gun laws. No, you don't need stronger gun laws. There's plenty right now. Don't tell the U.S. attorneys, go, hey, you know what? Let's be careful. Let's don't pick too many people up. We're going to hurt some feelings here and I might not get reelected. You're going to be protected for the rest of your life by the Secret Service. Anybody in that group. You don't have to worry about it. You do. Protect yourselves, protect your family, learn how to do it. Trust that the overwhelming majority of cops are going to do their job. That's what we do. We want to do our job. We want to protect you. We're willing to lay our lives down for people who we don't even know. That brings me to, there's been at least 150 policemen killed this year. 150. That's over what was killed last year. So I want to thank all first responders. That includes firemen, paramedics, everybody first responders. And I want to thank all vets, past, present, and future. Without you people, this country is going to go to hell in a handbasket. So you want to get rid of the cops? Call your local gangbanger to come help you out. Clifton, I'll give you the last word if you got something else you want to say after that well-rehearsed, well-thought-out, lucid dissertation that people are probably going, oh, God.
I want to tell you that I have something coming out very soon that I'm digging into on that shooting at the Juneteenth celebration in Granger. And you are on the right track with all of that.
Are you going to talk about the 655,000 people that were killed during the Civil War? Some trying to keep people enslaved and others that tried to free them?
I mean, on Juneteenth, there were hundreds of thousands of people who died to free the slaves, right? But that's apparently...
Did you hear that on...
No.
No, I didn't think so.
However, that was, hundreds of thousands of people who fought to free the slaves. And that's what Juneteenth should be such a unifying thing. And I'm going to go off on a tangent now. Thanks, Tim. Juneteenth, I agree that Juneteenth should be a holiday. I agree that Juneteenth is a very important date in the history of this country. And I think that it should be one of the most unifying, after the 4th of July, it should be one of the most unifying holidays in this country. However, what the left has done is they have taken that and they have made it divisive. They have said, look, this shows how oppressed everybody is. Hundreds of thousands of people died in this country to free the slaves. And that's what June 19th should stand for. We should not pretend that there weren't terrible things that have happened in the past, but we should also look at what is unifying in this country, and that is an extremely unifying date. However, I'm off that tangent now. Go to realnewsmichiana.com. Subscribe, please. Share any support you have. And by the end of July, I'm going to be going full-time doing that. So right now, all I'm doing is I have a full-time job. On the side, I am doing this, and the end of July, it's going to be full-time. So prepare to get 5 or 10 stories a day, smashing the legacy media and the leftist political activism that has infiltrated, our entire country.
So basically the truth.
Yeah.
By the way, I don't like Clifton very well. He has way too much hair and I have way too little. So
Thanks, Tim.
anyway,
I guess I'm
Tim-
a happy medium.
yeah.
This progresses here.
Yeah. Well, anyway, that's where we're at. Thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. Please pass it along. Let everybody know you're getting real stories from real people, and you get to hear what families go through over stupid things. And they really are stupid things. Thanks.